So, before I got sick, I was a very active person. Not sporty, I would say, but I enjoyed a lot of stuff that was very active. I did rock climbing, I would do high ropes, that kind of thing. Anything that was a bit of an adrenaline, active, adventurous thing, I'd be up there doing it. I used to walk around theme parks. I could walk the 10k around a theme park and be fine. And even just the simple things like walks down the beach, that kind of thing, I can't do now.
For the last 5 years, OJ has been living with a condition known as myalgic encephalomyelitis, more commonly known as ME/CFS. It is a chronic condition affecting how OJ's body is able to create energy and leaves them bedridden in the afternoon. Since becoming disabled, OJ has experienced ableism within society, finding that opportunities that they were once offered were taken away because they were in a wheelchair. So when OJ came to me and asked if they could join me at university to do some motion capture, there was no way I was going to say no. But before we can understand how this is going to be a challenge, we must first understand how to motion capture an able-bodied person. The standard way of recording motion capture is we take some tracking markers and we place them all around the body. There's 53 of them in a standard Vicon marker preset. And this will capture his body. The cameras all around us will find each and every tracking marker and turn him into a model in Vicon. One of the things I'm going to be concerned about is the motion trackers that are going to be on your back.
Those are the dots.
Yeah, the dots, yeah, and on the backs of your legs.
Right.
So when you're sitting in the wheelchair, they're going to be hidden.
Mm.
And I'm wondering if the software is going to be able to then just take the ones it's currently got and build off there, or if it's just going to break.
If it needs.
So hopefully everything behaves itself, and then it will just create the picture.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, we're back at square one.
The suit was interesting because I had no idea what it was going to feel like. I'd seen videos of people doing motion capture before, but being autistic, texture is a very important thing for me. So I was worried as I was going to put it on, oh gosh, what if this is something I can't handle? What if this is going to be really uncomfortable? Luckily it wasn't. The texture I found fine. It did feel a little bit silly being walking around with a bunch of little balls on me all over the place, but then seeing the result of it made it all worth it.
As OJ is an ambulatory wheelchair user, it means that they're able to support themselves with aid of the cane. This meant we were able to get them into a standard A pose with no problems. There was not much of an issue when it came down to tracking markers. Even though OJ was in the wheelchair and there were some tracking markers that were hidden, Vicon was able to find enough tracking markers to accurately track OJ's movements and build a 3D skeleton.
We played around with a few things. We used a bit of choreography that I'd recently done in a production of Little Shop of Horrors with the wheelchair to show kind of how the movement would work. And then we also thought, hey, it would be cool to see if we can get the cane in 3D space. So Jess put a bunch of little dots on it and we put it in. And we did a bit of a recreation of a little funny video on TikTok.
One thing we did find once we imported the cane is that we weren't able to use it if we wanted to recalibrate OJ, as there would be a mismatch between the tracking markers on the cane and OJ's skeleton.
Something we found as well was that it would have been helpful to have two canes, because I didn't know that as it was dotted up to be a prop, if we needed to recalibrate me, it had to be removed from the scene, which meant it would have been very helpful to have another one to use while that one was not with me.
Something that we originally wanted to do was take OJ's chair and import it into the scene so that we could see OJ manoeuvring the chair, see them interacting with it, and how it moves around the scene. However, this is something that we decided against, as we would need two identical chairs, which would be a production nightmare and also a health and safety nightmare potentially, and I'll have OJ explain why.
You may think, oh, if you're going to have multiple canes, why don't you have multiple wheelchairs? And there's a couple of reasons why you can't do that. The first one would be financial. A cane costs a couple of quid at a charity shop, maybe a tenner if you're getting it online new. Whereas a chair, especially one that is specialised, like the one I have, is incredibly expensive, and you're not going to get the same performance out of your performer if they don't have a chair that's specialised to them. And also, there are health risks that come with it. If a non-ambulatory wheelchair user is using a wheelchair that is not fitted for them, it can cause pressure sores, which can then lead to infections and can be very dangerous. So you can't just buy another chair for again, from a charity shop or nick one from a hospital and hope that it's going to work, because it won't.
Like I said, OJ is ambulatory, which means getting them into Vicon is relatively quite easy. However, if your actor is wheelchair bound, for example, how would you go about getting them into Vicon? I reached out to Vicon customer support, where I got contacted by customer support engineer Sads. He started off by telling me that Vicon haven't done much research into disability and motion capture. However, he had 2 methods which may be able to help me make this work. One of the methods was taking the 2D data and processing it offline. This means we would take the tracking markers that we've recorded and we would manually assign the labels to them, so that we would then effectively build the skeleton's structure and then apply it to the 3D model. This method took about 15 minutes to do before we could actually start solving the skeleton. 15 minutes added to the post side of things is nothing really. The second option would be taking tracking markers and applying them to your actor where they are visible, and then building that into a skeleton. So you take the tracking marker data, you'd put it into Vicon Shogun Post, and then you would have to build the bones, the constraints, the labels, everything. It takes a lot longer, but it is a way of doing it. It's the same method that they use for cats, horses, and dogs whenever they're motion capturing animals, basically. Anything that can't conform to a basic A pose, this is one of the methods that they employ. We've had all of these resources for a while, so why can't we use them for disabled people? Why don't we use them for disabled people?
I think there's a couple of reasons. I think one would be name recognition, in the sense that if you're making a game, you're going to get more people playing it if it's on the box. It's Troy Baker, you know. Whereas someone who's an unknown is not going to have that same name recognition. I think the other reason, and I think the probably more prevalent reason, is that it's less convenient. Because it's a lot easier to just have an able-bodied actor just play a disabled character and not have to worry about the accommodations that disabled actor would need. But I think in doing that, you sacrifice the genuine performance you would get from a disabled actor. And also, I think it's just wrong to have someone pretend to be disabled for a role.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. There's a big movement at the moment with disabled actors and just the disabled community pointing out roles that should have been offered to and cast to disabled people. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
A great example, not of a physical disability, but would be of a neurological condition, would be Sia's Music recently that came out, in the sense that she cast Maddie Ziegler in the lead role of an autistic girl when Maddie Ziegler is not autistic. And then when asked, hey, there were loads of people ready to, do this, why didn't you do that? Her excuse was that, it was not a good environment for an autistic actress, which, in my opinion, then you don't deserve to be telling an autistic story if you can't make those accommodations. Because the movie itself is not a movie for autistic people. It's a movie for neurotypical people to feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of her whole thing, was making herself feel good about it without actually taking the time to do the research and properly represent us.
There's also a lot on the other side of the fence who they deem it okay because they're trying to get more out of the performance. What would you say in response to that?
Well, if you've written a disabled character that a disabled actor couldn't play, then you haven't written a disabled character very well.
On the subject of disabled casting, we've done this test footage, we've run it through. Mm-hmm. All we've done so far is do what they've done with disability within sports, within medical research. We've done a performance-based research, but we haven't necessarily done anything performance-based. I think it would be an insult if we didn't take a script, get an able-bodied actor in, and use the disabled actor, and see how it works within a scene. Mm. So what we've done, I've spoken to you off camera, mm-hmm. and we have discussed a scene that you would enjoy, and we're going to make it work. Directing the scene with authentic casting felt so refreshing. Not only was it great seeing OJ so excited and experiencing motion capture for the first time, it was great knowing that the idea of this project is something that can be achieved, that the industry that I love can be accessible. And the work that it takes to make it is worth it when you see the results. I'm shocked that there's not enough examples of authentic casting within the motion capture industry, given that the process that capturing the data and solving the skeletons is not that different from able-bodied motion capture. We have proven that the software is more than capable, so is the industry ready to stop denying disabled people the chance to represent themselves? Or will they continue cheating their way to their next award?
Hello? Hey! Hey! Dude! Call an ambulance, anyone? Fuck. Hey, are you okay? Hello? Are you hurt? Look, my name's Oliver. I'm here to help. Oh fuck.
Lunge. Start crawling towards it.
Please.